So we do an interesting beaded extension technique that we're not going to talk much about right now because it's all about the cut. But over the next few minutes, we're going to cut these two ladies' hair extensions. And what I'm going to do is something I've developed as a 5-step hair extension cut technique. We're going to go through all 5 techniques on her. Hers is a little bit longer, and I'll go through those one by one. So what I have found with cutting length so often with extensions, that very first thing I found too often in the mirror, the client comes in and how do they show you how long they want to cut it? So step 1 is cutting the length. I'm going to go through the 5 steps real quick so you guys can kind of see the future. Step 1 is going to be cutting length, and I'm going to show you where and why and how. Step 2 is framing the face. Step 3 is something about layers, blending the client's hair in. 4 and 5 are both ends. 4 is going to be the ends of the extensions. 5 is going to be the ends of their hair. So I always say trust the process. Go through the 5 steps before you start judging how terribly it blends. But none of these steps replace color matching and where the hair goes on the head. And I think those are 2 of the biggest challenges. So here what I always find is if I part it down the center, too often, too many girls, they have their hair in the back and they go and they flip it to the front and they say, I want it here. Or they're trying to point to the back to that length, and it's hard to do, right? And the interpretation is always wrong. So I had a few girls just throw it in the front right here, and they pinched off a section of hair right in here, and they were like, this is how long I want it. I said, just hold your finger there, above or below, and I cut it. And so then I could judge from there what happens in the back. But I just got better and better at it, made a cleaner part through the center in the back, and the only challenge I found here was that if I block her view in the mirror and I come up here to start cutting, she wants to see what I'm doing and just messes up all the layers, right? So when I get here, I stop focusing here and I say, look straight at yourself in the mirror. I get this combed straight. Don't look down. And this is where I cut my length. And I like to break it up with a point cut, but I'm going to just prove that I taught somebody how to do this technique and it actually works. So he's going to do it. So that'll be the first step. And then we'll talk about the second one in a minute. So even on this asymmetrical placement pattern in her hair, I still putted it down the middle, but as you can see, we got a lot less hair on one side than the other. So look, show them what happens when you take that front and then you throw it all to the back. So when you throw it to the back like that, because the center traveled so far to be in the front, it's going to be a little longer, right? And the sides didn't travel as far, so they're a little shorter. So it gives a little bit of a natural, rounded look. But in step 3, so we did length, we did the blend, frame in the face, as much or as little as needed. But this next technique is this. I'm taking vertical sections and pulling out like this. You don't have to move at all. And what I'm doing is I'm looking for where I feel down the head. I'm looking for the top layer of, there's my first weft right there, right? So if I took her hair away, now her hair's pretty long, right? So this hair, well, you can see how blunt it is. It should show on top the extensions. That's step 4 or 5. We're going to take care of that later. But right now, we know that that falls to right here. So the blend from the client's hair down through the extensions is the next step that needs to be taken care of, whether it's the shear that they have, a regular shear, a thinning shear, a razor. That's the place, right? That's the next step. Right here, we need to start to blend right there over the top. And we're not going to get all the way to the very ends. We're going to handle that in step 4 and 5, but we're going to get close. And so I literally just go in and grab vertical sections, kind of freehand. And if I need to keep checking, I do. But I know where it is now. Look, it started falling out right there. So that's the place to start using that technique where I'm just cutting little hairs, just layering right over the top. This vertical section, I'll turn a couple times so you all can see it. But I took this vertical section and watch how gravity works against me. I pull it out like this. This bottom extension is the thick point that is making me look a little too thick down there. But before, when I would just do this on everything, I was thinning out all of this that didn't need it. So I'm doing a little blend over the top. And I might need this one extension here to look a little more natural and not take all the weight out of here. 18 is probably our most common used length hair. We have 10, 14, 18, and 22. There's a video that's kind of going viral where he's being videoed, putting the weft in just under 7 minutes. But that was 7 years ago. We're doing them in 2.5, 3 minutes now. I'm not saying you should rush it on a client, but on stage we do for fun, and for competition. But in the salon, if you take 10 or 12 minutes to put one 12-inch wide weft in, we literally can take a full weft out and put it back in, or I should say 2 wefts and a pack of strands is our average full head. we're doing in about 35, 45 minutes. So within an hour, you can take a full head of extensions out, put it back in, not necessarily have to go to the shampoo bowl, wet the hair, dry, style, although I like to do that. He does not. He takes a weft out, rebeads it, puts it right back in. Thank you guys.